So as of this recording, I have seen Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 times. And I'm going to be real with you. I like the Snyder Cut even more the second time I watched it. And actually it's 2.5 times because I saw it twice and then I kind of saw it again, like clips, like, skipping around the third time, just kind of rewatching some scenes I liked. And, I really did like the Snyder Cut even more the second time I watched it. And I got things to say about it. So I'm going to assume that by now, most of you have seen the Snyder Cut. I'm going to assume you've seen Zack Snyder's Justice League and you've seen everything. I'm going to assume that if you haven't, it is on HBO Max. And if you don't have HBO Max and you're part of the world, there are other places that are streaming it. Not to mention that it is available in limited capacity in some movie theaters, depending on where you live. So you got to check your local listings on that one. I can't help you if you're outside the United States, but those of you in the United States, you've got HBO Max. I want to talk a little bit about my reflections on the film after seeing it a second time. I really, really appreciated this movie. I really appreciated Zack Snyder's vision, although at first, based on Man of Steel, and I'm going to go back and rewatch Man of Steel in the next week or two, and I'll probably have a video about my thoughts on Man of Steel after I see it in the next week or two. But I want to talk about my impressions on the Snyder Cut after the second viewing. So I really did appreciate the vision Zack Snyder had. And even though the 2016 movie was still Zack Snyder's Justice League, in the sense of most of the stuff in that film was shot by Zack Snyder, and then Joss Whedon came in to cut the movie down to 2 hours, which is very difficult to do, and make it funnier. This version of the film was for sure a better version and one that should have been kept intact. But I feel like this version of the movie would not have ever happened without that one being made first, because of the Snyder Cut, I guess you can say the movement, so to speak. Because this version of the Snyder Cut, the 4-hour version, could never have been in theaters. Even if with an intermission, it just wouldn't have been so celebrated. I liked the fact that Diana was taken more seriously. She was much more of a serious threat. I liked, when I first saw the Snyder Cut, I didn't really like the way they introduced the Flash. I really didn't like that. Even though I knew that scene was done way back in, 2016. And the scene was actually finished by the time that Whedon took over. Like, the visual effects were done with it. But he chose not to have it in the movie. I liked it the second time. I really did. I actually liked the second showing of that scene way more than the first one. I don't know, for some reason I liked it more. I guess because I kind of understood the heart behind the scene. I understood how they'd use that to introduce the Flash in a quirky way. And it was in part 3 of the movie, too. It wasn't even early on. I liked the Cyborg story even more the second time. I appreciated it more. I appreciated that scene with Cyborg's dad sort of like showing his abilities. The bear and bull market, how he's able to control the nukes. Like, that was freaking cool. I really liked the Superman scene where he was sort of by himself on the ship, thinking back to not only his biological father Jor-El, but also his dad on Earth, the Kevin Costner character, and both those actors, and hearing the clips from Man of Steel. That's why I gotta watch Man of Steel again, bro, because I think I'll appreciate Man of Steel and Justice League more now. I also bought the 4K of the 4-hour of Watchmen, because I've never seen the 4-hour cut of Watchmen. I've never seen it before. I thought that I did see it, but I didn't see that version. I saw the shorter version. And I really want to see the 4-hour cut of Watchmen to kind of analyze it and really appreciate it more. So I look forward to seeing that. But in the meantime, Snyder Cut. So I appreciated the music, even though I'll be honest, the Aquaman, sort of slow song they had in this version Not my favorite. I kind of prefer the theatrical slightly. The white stripes was a little bit weird, but it's not that much. I liked it more. Some of the stuff with Aquaman's character was funnier in the theatrical, and I think he probably had more to do in the theatrical, but this Aquaman was, I think, probably a better setup to the Aquaman movie that James Wan did, even though I got to rewatch that now as well, only because I'm curious to see how things go in comparison to this version. Steppenwolf, like I said before, was a huge improvement. Seeing him just tearing people up. The way that he was constantly with the whole mother thing in the original, seeing him sort of evolve past that here was a step in the right direction, a huge step in the right direction. Love that. I loved Darkseid. Granted, he was a fully CGI character or motion capture, whatever. I loved how menacing he was. Obviously, Thanos was probably a more interesting character, and I would say Thanos from the past or whatever, from the Guardians of the Galaxy timeline, was probably much more fearsome. They built up this Darkseid really, really well, really, really well, I gotta say. The only nitpick I really have about the Snyder Cut now, after seeing it twice, is I don't really understand why Martian Manhunter was just kind of sitting around, not doing anything for the previous 3 movies. Like, he didn't really... If that was Martian Manhunter the whole time, why did he not do anything? Why did he not help them out in the finale? Why did he not get involved? I just feel like that was a missed opportunity, and maybe Zack Snyder will explain it, in a Q&A or, in a video with Grace Randolph or something. I really do hope that he explains it. I felt like the emotional resonance of having Joe Morton see his son with the Justice League was way more powerful upon second viewing. I really love the tape recorder stuff, I appreciate it more the second time. You really should see this movie twice. Now I've put 8 hours of my life into this movie, and I don't regret it, honestly. I liked how Batman was a bit slower, and that was okay, because he's obviously a guy who is older. Appreciated that more. The Jared Leto Joker got a lot of crap from people. And yeah, maybe his monologue went on a bit too long, but I didn't hate it. I still don't hate his Joker, yo. Is it the best one? No. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is amazing. Obviously, the Heath Ledger one is like legendary, and that's really where he got his inspiration from. But I really don't hate his Joker at all. And I think with a little bit more polish, I think he could really nail his own unique version of the Joker. I think this Joker was a big improvement over the one from, Suicide Squad. But supposedly there's a longer cut of that movie as well that was butchered. So can we get that next? I want to see that next too. I really did appreciate this movie, yo. And I always side with the filmmaker. If you talk about filmmaker versus fan or filmmaker versus studio, the filmmaker versus studio argument, I think the filmmaker always wins. Filmmaker versus fan is a little bit more gray, because even though I usually go with the filmmaker, there are examples where the filmmaker kind of takes a few too many liberties. Like, for example, Rian Johnson's Last Jedi. I think he misinterpreted Luke Skywalker's character completely. And I think he should have listened to Mark Hamill. And I'm going to stick by that forever. But the studio had his back. Here it was kind of, the studio went in and just changed everything. And I'm never going to be one of those anti-Joss Whedon people. They say that he's like kind of racist. I mean, there's not enough proof, if you ask me. I don't like throwing the word racist around without there being actual verifiable evidence of that. So I don't think he's a racist. And some people were saying, well, people of color were cut from his version. Maybe, but I don't know. Like, there are some things that I would have kept in, and I would have toned down the humor, but he was told to do a job by Jeff Johns, and he did it, But the Snyder version was just much more enjoyable. Like, that 4 hours just zips by, yo. And if you're out there and you haven't seen this cut yet, you gotta see it. You know, Steppenwolf's death, yeah, it was very brutal, but Diana's never been the type to be merciless or whatever. I mean, dude, when she killed those terrorists, those bank robbing terrorists or whatever, they really weren't bank robbers. You gotta understand that she they deserved it. They were gonna shoot children, yo. Like, come on, man. Like, they deserve to die, bro. I'm sorry, but they deserve to die, in my opinion. I really liked what they did with her in this movie. I liked the whole stuff with the Themyscirus and the Queen and how that's going to play up later on. And I think it would be a grave mistake. I think it would be a tremendous mistake if the WB, if Warner Media did not capitalize on the Snyder Cut. I think it would be a huge mistake if they did not capitalize on this and bring him back to do a miniseries or bring him back to do another movie and just wrap up his vision. Because that people are going to be wanting this, yo. They're going to be wanting it. And I'll do videos on that in the future. I know I will, because I have thoughts on sort of his vision going forward. You know what I'm saying? I do have thoughts on it. Because there's things I like and things I don't like. But for the most part, I appreciate that he had a plan. Lex Luthor as Jesse Eisenberg's Luthor, I couldn't handle him at all in BVS, either version. But here, because he had less of a scene and he was bald and he was a lot more, I appreciated that character more. Him telling Slade Wilson, you know, unlike we have sort of League of Our Own, him saying, you know, Batman's real name is Bruce Wayne, setting up the Bruce Wayne, the Ben Affleck Batman movie that he was supposed to direct, but it didn't happen at all. And that's okay. They don't have to set it up at all, but they could have at least a scene in the sequel. I have thoughts on that for a separate video. I appreciated, obviously the visual effects work was a lot of CG, but I appreciated sort of the little details here and there. The scene with Cyborg meeting Wonder Woman at night was really well done. And that scene was different in the Whedon cut. This one had much more coolness with him kind of coming in, flying in and whatnot. Though they had more time to work on it and perfect that scene. Sometimes, you know, I know George Lucas once said that movies are never really done, but I disagree with that. But the Snyder Cut getting more time to be worked on, getting more time for Zack Snyder to kind of focus on little details here and there, was much more appreciated this time. And I enjoyed it, you know, and I look forward to seeing where things go next. Like, the fact that Wonder Woman was like in, you know, with looking at, like, you know, in Europe, kind of looking at, you know, the scene on TV with the arrow and then her kind of showing up to light it and then put it in the little chamber. Really love that. Really, really love that. Again, I don't really understand what Martian Manhunter was doing, why he wasn't involved. That was a bit weird. But the nightmare sequence made more sense, I think, in this version. Even though there are unanswered questions, which I'll discuss in a future video. Having Amber Heard's character use her powers against Steppenwolf was also very much more appreciated. And I like the fact that they saved a lot of the Aquaman stuff for his movie, and James Wan did a great job with that. But I just want to say that I appreciated it, and I'm probably going to rewatch Aquaman soon and give my thoughts upon seeing it now again, after only seeing it once in the movie theater. And I enjoyed the Snyder Cut more the second time. Loved it. I love the scene where Bruce Wayne was like, no, there's not 5 of us, there's 6 of us. Where they have to bring him back. And I appreciated, obviously, the part that was in the trailer where he was like, you know, I don't care how many demons he fought or how many hells, he's never fought us, not us united. And they really worked together as a team, especially against Steppenwolf in the finale. You know, it was a 3-way kill. And I mentioned that here, and it was effective. I loved it. I love this movie, yo. I think this might end up being my favorite Zack Snyder movie, dude. It might be my favorite Zack Snyder movie, yo. Dawn of the Dead is one that I really liked, but honestly, like, Dawn of the Dead, I have to see it again. But I really love this cut of this cut of Justice League, yo. And I look forward to seeing where we go from here. No, I don't think it was as good as Endgame, but we're not comparing Marvel to DC here. Just as DC movies go, this was a lot of fun. And yeah, Wonder Woman was probably a better movie, right? In some ways, but this was probably a better sort of like quote miniseries, and this was also better in the sense of like the third act. The third act here was much better, very different. The Russian family, I know why Whedon did it, but I appreciated this version more, much more focused. So I love the Snyder Cut, and I'm probably not going to watch the theatrical one again, maybe one more time, and that's it. So let me know what you think now. Most of you have seen it by now. What do you think about the Snyder Cut with spoilers? Let me know. And thank you again, and we'll talk soon. I'll have tons more videos giving my thoughts on Snyder Cut in the future.